It is a larvae stag beetle type with the power and name to cut down even that of a god of Meteorot 2. It is LHB00 Atheist with a kit of Commander, Sword, Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Rush, which buffs the success and power of equipped melee parts if the number equipped exceeds that of the targets. Now, even though this is definitely not Atheist's first and official re-debut into the series, as he was originally a DLC for Meteorot 9, back roughly in about 2014 or so, as one of the last one of the last 6 DLC bots that was added to the game, it is always once again nice to see another returnee from the days of old. Commander is a support-based skill that basically serves like radar sight, as it will give a success rate, 30% success rate to self and allies across the team, but it will also negate any conceal or stealth effects on the enemy side, which also makes it great for pinpointing any particular enemies or negating anyone that likes to abuse the conceal buffs. In addition to that, Commander, however, also adds an additional bonus, and that's the fact it also grants a stealth effect to self for the duration of their next cooldown, heat phase, and essentially their turn in general, which will basically, in this case, allow this glass cannon nuker to fight and bypass any shields with its next hit while being unimpeded and uninterrupted. Right arm sword is a very conventional melee skill, meaning that anyone can use it with no major drawback or disadvantage, so a very solid overall balance there. Left arm hammer also is a very conventional melee attack nonetheless, but it is an AoE, meaning that it will damage all 4 parts at once and spread the damage evenly among them. The leg ability of Rush, however, does actually tie in very nicely with Atheist's overall kit and his design and role on the field, especially since he can balance between being your balanced conventional fighter or even a more dedicated melee fighter, since he has such a very impressively high base power, especially with that 1616 for the base power on his sword, with a very high heat and cool stat in the low 600s to mid 700s. Success stat of 1312 also is really nice, meaning that he will not have any issue with landing a hit or crit. He does, kind of true to his name as a glass cannon, though, he is kind of lacking a little bit in the armor department, as it will mean that he's very easy to kill without a lot of issue, but he does make up for it relatively easily with some overall rather impressive stats across the board. Mobility of 801 on his legs honestly is really nice too, as it puts him in that above average sweet spot where most biped legs want to be. And the leg ability of Rush does tie into this, meaning that any conventional or dedicated melee nuker can make use of these very easily. His legs also can support one heavy slot, and even better is that none of his parts are heavy, which means you can interchange that out and pack on even higher power if you're willing to eat the potential drawback for that. With a melee resist 1206, he can get up close and personal pretty easily, but with an evade and shoot resist of 893 and 718 respectively, long range attacks are probably going to be a potential weakness for him. But as a pure set score across the board, I honestly would have to rate Atheist a rather solid 7.5, maybe even an 8 out of 10, because of his overall incredible balance as a dedicated melee fighter, whether that be for dedicated nuking or even for secondary auxiliary combat. One of his biggest pain points, if you're willing, and of course this is very easily overcome depending on how you choose to use him in the team, is that he is particularly light in the armor department, which hence has always maintained his role as a glass cannon, so relatively similar to his counterpart Ambiguous in this sense. But as mixed parts, I would rate him a flat 8 out of 10 across the board, given the fact that you can use literally any of his parts anywhere, and you will always make use of them. They will be openly welcomed, as long as you can maintain and be aware of the fact that they will be very easily broken thanks to having relatively lower armor. But of course, Commander is nice for that shield bypass thanks to the stealth effect, as well as getting that additional bonus of the radar sight nonetheless. Basic sword, basic hammer, you can never go wrong with anywhere, and very solid biped legs across the board too, especially for dedicated melee nukers.